Good evening, everyone. Today I've got my first Amouage review for you on the channel, and it is Amouage Imitation Man. This is an older bottle. It's got the name on the side, name on the collar. As far as I know, reformulation is not really a thing for this one. I've heard that maybe performance is a bit worse, but otherwise, this is not one of the ones where you should seek a vintage bottle. I just happen to have a vintage bottle because that was what was available when I bought it at the best price. That's why my bottle looks different than what's in the shops and maybe than the one you have, but not to worry. When it comes to the presentation of Amouage Imitation Man, it's quite a beautiful bottle. It's got this gold writing with a gold cap. It's got quite an interesting bottle. It's meant to mimic the neon lights of New York in the 70s. And it's got this gradient where the top bit of glass is blue, the sides are purple, and the bottom is green. It gives you a bit of a neon light kind of effect. So you can see it's green and a bit there. Problem with this bottle is that as you use it, it will look ugly because the liquid kind of, the light with the liquid kind of shines off and gives it this look. I've seen some used bottles and it just looks a bit silly. So anyway, that's my only gripe with the bottle. When it comes to the atomizer, it's pretty decent. It's average, I'd say. Let's do a spray for you guys. Right. Now, I've been sitting on Imitation Man for quite some time. It's not necessarily because it's a difficult scent to talk about or interpret. I think it's mainly because I wasn't sure if I liked it or loved it or disliked it. Because through the months I've had this, I've felt that way about it. And not in that particular order. Depends on the day, really. And I've had to ask myself some serious questions as to why am I keeping this around? Am I now collecting amouages? And this is why I'm keeping it. Is this worthy of being in my collection? I'll try and answer these questions for you in this video. When it comes to Imitation Man, it's quite an evocative scent for the right person. The story behind this is that Christopher Chong went to New York in his youth, and this is meant to evoke New York in the 70s. The party trick of this perfume is the leather accord or vinyl accord. Now, on the notes, it says leather. There's no mention of a vinyl accord. People have just ran off with it because it does smell quite suede and plasticky. Now, I have no experience with vinyl, okay? I'm way too young for that. I have a few vinyl records. They're still sealed, they're more collectible. I don't have a record player. So I can't relate, but I have seen a few of the older people, don't take any offense, especially Kuba No, I watched him react to this and it took him to his days clubbing and he smelled the vinyl straight away. But for the right person, this is super evocative. For me, the vinyl, not so much. It just smells like a suede, plasticky leather. The way Imitation Man achieves its goal of evoking New York and the neon lights in the 70s, I believe it is not just through the vinyl accord, but also in its construction, which is the chypre constructions. We have a bright opening, floral heart, and in this case, leather base. I don't think there's any oak moss in this. And it does have something animalic in the base as well to give it that vintage feel. When it comes to the scent profile, this scent opens up with a really beautiful opening of citrus flowers. So there's definitely a rose in there, but it's a super pink rose, and there's a purple flower in there, and it's violet, I believe. And then you have this citrus fruit, and the citrus and the rose and the violet together, they go hand in hand, and they give you this super beautiful opening. But it gets a bit ruined because at the same time as the opening, you do get that weird vinyl, plasticky kind of pattern leather kind of vibe. Now, it's not as plasticky as like the plastic accords that are used in like Azomato, Fantomas, or whatever. It's not as bad as that, but that with the animalis that they use as well, it is a bit off-putting, I can't lie. The scent has this really bright opening with those, the two flowers and the citruses go hand in hand to make this one lovely smell. It's really vibrant, it's quite sweet. There's also something incredibly powdery about this scent. Now, I think there must be a lot of iris in this or orris. It's not that buttery, it's more powdery. Now, when you add the powdery nature, so it's a powdery texture, and you have the pink, purple flowers and the citrusy base, the image that I get in my mind is like bright red lipstick and like red pattern leather. You know how like bright red lipstick can look a bit glossy and plasticky, like this is super glossy, like really vintage old school use of lipstick that people don't wear anymore. I think now they go for like more matte kind of things, but this strikes me as that. Like I think of Marilyn Monroe wearing the most ridiculous, really bright red lipstick, and the lipstick is plasticky and powdery. So you have the makeup aspect. So why do I think of that? Is because the flowers are quite pink and purple. That's why I get the red image. And also I get the really shiny thing looking like patent leather. That's what it evokes for me. And the lemons or the citrus kind of in the opening evokes maybe that person is drinking like a cocktail of some kind in some kind of New York bar or something like that. So that's the image. Now, I don't get the vinyl. I'm assuming if I had been around and people used to play vinyl records in bars or whatever, and maybe when when the vinyl record spins, you can smell that kind of smell, maybe this would achieve its full goal. But even for someone that hasn't got the experience of vinyl, it does achieve that goal and it does evoke that image in my mind. Do you think we're influenced by marketing, or do you think the scent alone is evocative like that? That's for you to think about and decide. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. The thing is, the leather comes out straight away and it ruins the opening. Some days I can ignore it and I'm like, wow, this is such a wonderful floral citric opening. I think it's a really engaging first few hours. Sometimes I just get the base straight away because the notes just all come out at you straight away. And then it can be a bit irritating because you have that vinily leathery thing. It contrasts with the opening, but sometimes I find it a bit irritating. Now, the dry down for me is the problem with the scent. Like I said, it reaches that stage after about 6 or 7 hours when it's into the deep dry down. You have this leather and then you have this animalic kind of vibe from the castoreum, right? And I think I really like castoreum and fragrances, but here it just becomes annoying because I don't like the leather. I think if I liked the leather, if it was real leathery, perhaps I wouldn't find it so annoying. But that combination just smells a bit like not very nice on my skin, to be honest with you. One thing that I find with this is that it does have a few spices that Amouage like to use, but they're nothing crazy. There's a bit of pepper in here in the opening, and that kind of gives it a bit more lift and makes the opening more lively. The first couple of hours of this are absolutely amazing, and then it dies down into this plastic leather castoreum base, to be honest with you, and it's powdery as well on top of it. It's not my favorite kind of thing. So the dry down is not for me. The opening, some days is for me because I can ignore the leathery base, focus on that amazing powdery rose, violet, spice, black pepper, and whatever citrus they use. This is one of the most unique amouages in my collection, and I think in all of the men's collection, because firstly, there's no incense in this. It doesn't dry down to the typical incense base. I found a lot of amouages journey on a overture, epic to some extent. It can become just incense at the end. The good thing about it is that they're usually super long lasting. They transition quite a lot, so you don't mind the fact that the base becomes similar because you still get like 6, 7, 8 hours, sometimes like 9 hours of different experience. Another cause for disappointment with this one is its performance. Whilst you do get a good projection in the first 4 hours, it does calm down quite significantly and it becomes a skin scent in about 7 or 8 hours for me, which for an amouage is quite quick. Now, another thing I've noticed with Imitation Man is that, like I said, that kind of leathery, plasticky accord in the base is really annoying. I don't get that much when it comes to a sillage. So it's only when I really get super close. And that means that the first few hours are quite nice, actually. It's completely wonderful. It's like almost a 10 out of 10 opening for me. It's a powdery, floral, nice and pink/purple with a little bit of spice just to keep it fizzy and a bit of citrus to keep it alive. Absolutely wonderful. But the problem is that after about 2 hours, okay, either the performance dies down or I get a bit nose blind, probably a bit of both. And I need to smell my arm to kind of smell it properly. And the problem with that is that's where the trouble begins, and you can't really escape that super powdery, plasticky base. So in the air, it's like a 10 out of 10, and then up close, it's like a 6 out of 10. And it's really confusing because this could be one of my favorites of all times, but I obviously don't enjoy certain aspects of it. And there's a lot of limitations here because I enjoy the first few hours and then that's it. I don't despise or hate the other few hours, but I'm just like, I'm not, I'm not in love with it. And I think life's too short and there's too many great fragrances out there for me to have something that I don't love 100% of the way. The dry down is the vast majority of the wear of most fragrances. I don't know if the opening is really worth the dry down, if you like, or worth keeping this for. And I have that issue with quite a lot of perfumes, to be fair, where I like the first half, I hate the second half, or vice versa. And that tends to be a bad sign. Do I recommend Imitation? Yes, I do. I recommend sampling it. I don't recommend getting a 1 ml or 2 ml. I recommend getting at least 5 ml decant of this stuff and give it a few wears. I think if you can relate to the vinyl, then this could be a signature scent for you. This could be a love for you. This could be super, even more evocative. For me, it evokes a time that I wasn't there. But for you, if it evokes a time of your youth, this might be one of your favorite amouages or favorite perfumes of all time. I appreciate the artistry. I appreciate the name as well, Imitation Man. To me, how I interpret the name is that I can relate to Christopher Chung. To survive, you imitate. That's how I see it. You imitate other people your age around you to try and fit in. And then eventually, when you get to grips with your new surroundings and new culture, you become yourself. But I get why he called it Imitation from that perspective, or at least that's my interpretation of the name. It's a wonderful bottle. It's a very artistic perfume. I think it's for the right person. This is like a 10 out of 10. For me, I enjoy it sometimes. Sometimes I really love that opening, and my brain just doesn't really smell plastic that much. I really do enjoy it, but some days it's not a bad smell. It's just annoys me. I know what this could have been for me, what this needs to be perfect. Just change that one accord. But then obviously the fear is that that's the whole point. It's meant to be like that. So I respect this perfume a lot. And sometimes I do enjoy it. Sometimes I'm indifferent about it. This is a super unique. It's definitely, I'd say, a 3-season wear. I wouldn't put this one on the highest of heat, but definitely you could signature scent this if it's your cup of tea, and it's super artistic at the same time. Quite evocative, actually. This really fulfills the artistic mission that it was designed for. It's one of my least favorite amouages, but to be honest, this is still an amazing perfume. I just find the perfumes that the more I love a perfume, the harder it is to talk about it because your logical brain switches off and you become really emotional. You're just experiencing it. But to talk about it or to decipher it becomes very difficult because it's such a surreal feeling. Also, with the ones you enjoy but don't necessarily love, I find it quite a lot easier to break down and dissect. Have you tried Imitation Man? What do you think of this perfume? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know what you think.